Hi, in this week's episode, we are going to be looking at the confusion of how a man is supposed to act or be, or what they're supposed to be to their female counterparts. And so, without further ado, let's get into it. Hello, everyone. You're listening to All Cards on the Table podcast with Claire and Sylvia, a show that talks about how men and women aren't so different from each other. We just don't speak the same language. We will dissect every topic and put an end to miscommunication. So, get ready to get uncomfortable. Hi, and welcome back. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Claire Attio.
Hi, everyone. This is Silvia Yajara.
And this week we're going to discuss the communication issues surrounding the whole confusion about how a man should be acting around a woman. And Sylvia and I, before we went on air, discussed this because this came up for me the weekend where a man asked me, so what are the expectations of men? What if the divine feminine is on the rise, where does that leave men? How am I supposed to be? How am I supposed to act? What am I supposed to do? And my initial reaction was, well, you just be a man. You just be a man. But of course, that's because where I am. And when Sylvia and I were talking, we were talking 50 years ago, and we don't want to go into the past. We are moving forward. Sylvia and I are advocates of forward movement, forward energy, getting that equality and bringing in that divine feminine energy. But we have to consider the past because it has a direct effect on where we are now. Because if we go back 50 years ago, we had very stoic, very firm outlines that if you were identifying as a female woman, your role would be Ekis. And if you were identifying as a male, your role would be Ekis. And this is how the two of you connect. And this is how you work out the dynamics of being together. In today's society, that's all gone out the window, and that's fine. It's created massive, massive problems, but it's also created dynamics where men don't really know how to act. And if they ask, they're being lazy. If they assume, they're being presumptuous.
Yeah. Like, winning.
And if you and I know some women will get irritated by this, but women, please consider that we are all going through our own process. We are all expanding and we are all learning as we bring in and as we start to live with the divine feminine within us and as we start to expand in that. So if you put 5 women in a room with one guy, and you said, what are your expectations? What is the one key factor that this man has to do so that you feel happy, secure, and satisfied? Each 5 of those women will give him a very different paradigm. And this is the problem that men are facing today.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because they think like each one is right. And each one of those women think they're right. So what I mean,
well, it's right for them.
For them, but they think everyone should be like that, and that's not the case. And I think a lot of women right now are fighting of like, no, I don't want to be a boss, but I want to be at home and cook and clean and stay with my babies, And you have another one who's like, well, I want to work and I want someone who supports me, that I find a career. And then you have another one that's like, no, why should men? So it's no wonder these men are just going, what do we do? Because it's confusing for them, but it's for me, I can see it too. It's very confusing. And I think it's going to the point where I feel we women have been told so many of what we should and should not be that we start to believe it. And then we want our counterparts to believe that too, but it doesn't feel right. And I think right now, everybody just needs to find what feels right for them
Mm-hmm.
and individually. And as far as men go, remember how back in the days we all had that one guy that was very like traditional, and that one guy that was the hippie, and we had the rock star and the cowboy and the rugged man. We used to have all those different types, and now it seems like they're all one.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't tell the difference because they're all told, oh, you have to be like this, you have to be like that, you have to be this, and you have to be that. And it feels like they're all morphing into just one typical male of doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean nothing because they're scared. Like if they ask a girl out, you know, they're like, oh, you're creepy, or you're no, I don't want to, or this and that. What do I get in return? Or is it a 50-50? It's exhausting, so they should
Yes.
stop asking.
Yeah.
And women are going around thinking they're not beautiful, or they're not approachable, and it's not because no one is asking them, because we had one woman who yelled at him and now he's running. It's just chaos, I think.
It
it's,
is. And I
it's a
think that's a beautiful word to bring in. And I think that's something we all need to take on board, is that humanity at the moment is in absolute chaos. And that is because we are in a place of change. Within our evolution, we're in this massive change, and change always creates chaos. And we just need to, we just need to let the dust settle. It will all come together,
yeah.
but it will come together in a much more fluid way if we can be honest with our communications. If we're
Mhm.
with somebody and they're not doing what we would like them to do, then we ask them if they would be willing to do that. And if they're not, then we have to be okay with letting them go when we're looking for partners. If they are, then fantastic. And
Mhm.
also to be willing to have that same conversation come back the other way. If
Mhm.
you're with a man and they would like you to be a certain way, are you willing to be that for them? And if not, you have to be okay with letting go. And while we're in this transition period, as Sylvia said, though, we are all very different. I know I'm not the same person, or even want the same things from a relationship as I did 2 years ago.
Mhm.
I've evolved, and so what I'm seeking, what I'm looking for, what I'm desiring from a relationship has changed and evolved. And I
Mhm.
think we need to take this on board. We need to give that understanding, because, as Sylvia said, men are just, at the moment, they're kind of almost been muted. They're on mute because if they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. So they're like, right,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just step back here. And then women are there going, where are all the decent men in the world? Well, the decent men are sat on the sofa out the way because they don't want to be
Yeah.
lambasted or accused or
And it's true, because actually the guys that do are the ones out there asking girls that and acting obnoxious and presumptuous and all of the misogynistic things are the ones no one wants, but they're the only ones that don't care. So they're the ones asking. So therefore, every guy now has his reputation of being this, because you have all the narcissistic, self-entitled men out there thinking that they're God's gift to earth, and they're the
Mhm.
ones asking. Well, the real guys are going, no, thank you. I'm gonna sit over here
This is all a
because
bit complicated.
too much for me. I'm gonna lose either way, so I'm just going to sit this one out. And I noticed that because it's funny that you brought that up about how, everyone has to, well, you were before, it's not what you want from now. And a lot of women have going around, it's like, oh, well, if you're in your 40s and your 50s and you're divorced, what's wrong with you? And so that has become a trend of like, what's wrong with you? People evolve. You don't know if that man was with a woman for 20 years of his life and they grew out of each other, which happens all the time. They evolve. And that person, that couple is no longer functioning together, but he could be an excellent boyfriend, spouse, or partner to somebody else who's at the same level, mentally, physically, and everything, energetically. So what's going around too is like, oh, they're damaged goods. And that goes for women too, because I think men is like, well, they're damaged, they have this and that. And like, no, it's just they evolve. Maybe they're like, I'm not putting up with a narcissistic person.
Mm-hmm.
I have to value myself first and my children. So they're not damaged. They just finally got the guts to get out and do something. It's just that's how they're going about it. And men that are usually trying to pick up on women like that are the ones that know that they're taking advantage of someone.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that
They're
are
on the market. The
that
other
are on
ones
the market.
taken themselves off the market because it's complicated.
And the ones that are actually looking for like to become partner and be in a long-term relationship, they're like, listen, if I go and ask this single mom with little kids, they're gonna, with what's going around, they're gonna think I'm going after her kids and this and that. I'm just gonna wait till the kids are older because then it's safe. And that's what many men are doing with the whole trends, like, oh, they're just after you for kids. Okay, that set of guys or men that were willing to date a single mom are now out of the dark because they don't want to be pointing as a pedophile. And so you have those good guys over there. They're like, you know what? I'll just date women who don't have children or
And
have older children.
yeah, and interrupting you there, you've also got the group of guys that won't get with a single mother because they are wanting to build a family. They are wanting to be the father figure in that family, and they're quite happy to take on that responsibility. But they know full well, should anything happen, they have absolutely no rights. And so they don't just lose the woman that they love, they lose the children that they have also come to love and have absolutely no rights whatsoever to ever
So
see
true.
them again.
That is so true. And I'm glad you brought that up because I do know someone like that actually. And they are hurting because they take them as their own. And so what do? They say, never mind, I'm going to go with somebody else who's not. So we have that because we have put it in society that that's what's happening with men. And again, or if they're divorced, and okay, why are you so divorced at such a young age? Or what happened and this and that? You know what? You don't know what happened in completely if that's because I'm gonna say something that probably gonna trigger a lot of people, but the narcissistic guy will never be single. They will always find someone. Okay. They cannot physically be alone. They need somebody. So if you know this guy is jumping from girl to girl to girl, yeah, that's a huge red flag. That guy that has been single for a year because of a divorce or ex-girlfriend, that's the one that took the time to heal before they got into another relationship. So that's not a narcissist or there's something wrong with that person. That person grew out of that relationship, took the time to heal and move forward. It's not because he's a bad person and therefore they can't find anyone. The one that is a bad person will find anyone. So there. And
well, it's not bad. It just creates uncomfortable dynamics for everybody involved, doesn't it? I tend not to like to it's not good and bad. It's not a judgment, but it's an observation that
it's bad for you.
yeah, it could end up a very bad situation for you. So it's worth taking note. It's interesting dynamics, and I would implore, kind of bring this to a close, I would implore women. I mean, I know, and I know I'm gonna say women, and most women are go, oh, why have we always got to do everything? We are innately the nurturers. We are the shapeshifters. We are the creators. And so if we want better, more satisfying and functional relationships, then unfortunately or fortunately, I don't actually see it as a problem. We have to be the way showers. That's how it is. I'm not saying that there aren't men out there that are way showers, because they are, but the majority of way showers are women. And so we need to kind of just step into that
Mm-hmm.
and show the way and be honest about where we're at. Because as I said, I'm not the same person that I was 2 years ago. What I wanted from a relationship 2 years ago fills me with horror now. My
Mm-hmm.
dynamics have changed. So you need to be looking, take ownership of the fact that we are evolving, that we are changing. As Sylvia said, find somebody that is on your vibrational wavelength. It doesn't mean that you're academically the same or you have exactly the same interests. It means that you're vibrationally aligned. Your core beliefs and values are similar. And that you both, if you're on a personal development road, make sure that you actually start only looking at people that are also on a personal development path. There's no point starting a relationship with somebody that has no interest in that, because you will outgrow them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you invest 2 months, 2 years, 10 years of your life with somebody knowing full well that it's going to end because you will outgrow them. So you need to be looking for somebody that you are energetically aligned with,
Mm-hmm.
physically aligned with, your your core values and beliefs are aligned. And then take it from there. I know it's not romantic. I know it's not, oh, Prince Charming or my princess, but we've got enough dysfunction. We don't need any more. What we need to do is to build solid unions so that
Mm-hmm.
we can create solid families that can create solid communities, because that's what this world is seriously lacking at the moment. There are solid communities where
Yeah,
people work together for the good of all.
absolutely. Yes. And I think you also need to ask yourself, what is it that I really want? Because when you ask a lot of women what they want, they're like, well, I want a man that this and this and that. And that's most of the time it's what they hear or what they believe they want. But when they really sit down to say, what is it that makes me happy? What is it that I'm looking for a partner? Most of them don't actually have the answer. They're just going with the flow. The younger, they just want money. They just want to travel. They want to do something. And so at that point, you're going to ask yourself, is this what it makes me happy, like truly happy? And that's something that you need to sit down and only you can answer that. And that goes also for men, because if you are a genuine good guy and you ask the first girl and she says no or says something or tears your head off, for instance, remember that's just one of many. So don't give up and don't change. Don't change that thrill of persuasion, because that's also what we have lost, the thrill of the chase of, like, asking girls, and not just this swiping left and right. It's no more of that. Like, you don't get nothing out of it. It's getting to
Well,
know someone.
it's
So
that Ken and Barbie, isn't it? I think people are so afraid because there's so much information out there about what they can say, what they can't say, what is right, what is wrong, that we've ended up with a society full of Ken and Barbies and no actual originality. That's
mhm.
that's the thing I find is not actually finding people of real originality. And so when I do, I'm like, woo, I home in on
Yeah,
them. It's
exactly. And so, yes, I mean, yeah, there's a tug of war right now, what way to go for men, and just stay true to your masculine. That's all I would say. Find your divine masculinity, as you said, and stick to it, because it's a process that we're going through, and it's hopefully in the near future, closer now, that we get this together, and hopefully we can have that strong community, because we need it for everyone.
yeah. So that's bye bye from me.
And me. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and hit the like button.
Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so, and please leave a review, as it helps us grow and bridge the gap between the sexes. If you have any topics you would like us to cover, shoot us an email. Until next time, Go out and practice putting all your cards on the table with no judgment, expectations, and fear.